Hi everyone, Miss Leanne here with a story for you. This one is actually a really old book. It belonged to my sister when we were little, but I'm sure she won't mind me borrowing it to read it to you guys. So I wonder if you can tell me from the front cover what this book might be about. It's got some animals there, hasn't it? Australian animals. We've been learning about Australian animals. We've got an emu, a wombat, and does anyone know what this one is? It's a platypus. So this book is called Wombat Stew, and the author is Marcia K. Vaughan, and it was illustrated by Pamela Lofts. Let's read it together. One day, on the banks of a billabong, a very clever dingo caught a wombat. And decided to make wombat stew, gooey, brewy, yummy, chewy wombat stew. What do you think the wombat thinks of that? Do you think he wants to be in the stew? I don't think so. Oh, what animal was that? A platypus. Platypus came ambling up the bank. "Good day, Dingo," he said, snapping his bill. "What is all that water for?" "I'm brewing up a gooey, chewy stew with that fat wombat," replied Dingo with a toothy grin. Ooh. The dingo looks pretty happy, doesn't he? He thinks he's going to have a yummy dinner. I wonder if you can see this animal up here in the tree. Do you know what that one is? It's a kookaburra. "If you ask me," said Platypus, "the best thing for a gooey stew is mud. Big blops of billabong mud." "Blops of mud?" Dingo laughed. "What a good idea. Righto, in they go." So Platypus scooped up big blops of mud with his tail and tipped them into the billy can. Would you like to eat mud in your stew? No, I don't think I would either. Sounds yucky to me. Around the bubbling billy, Dingo danced and sang, wombat stew, gooey, brewy, yummy, chewy, wombat stew." Oh, who remembers what this animal's called? It's an emu. Waltzing out from the shade of the ironbarks came Emu. She arched her graceful neck and looked over the brew. "Oh, Dingo," she fluttered, "what have we here?" "Gooey, chewy, wombat stew," boasted Dingo. "Oh, if only it were a bit more chewy," she sighed. "But don't worry, a few feathers will set it right." "Feathers?" Dingo smiled. "That would be chewy. Righto, in they go." So into the gooey brew, Emu dropped her finest feathers. Ooh, would you like to eat feathers? Ooh, I don't think I would. Around and around the bubbling billy, Dingo danced and sang, wombat stew, crunchy munchy for my lunchy, wombat stew." Oh, who knows what this animal is? Have a look at his tongue. That might give you a hint. He has a blue tongue. It's a blue-tongued lizard. Old blue-tongued lizard came sliding off his sun-soaked stone. "Silly Dingo," he hissed. "There are no flies in this stew. Can't be wombat stew without crunchy flies in it." And he stuck out his bright blue tongue. "There's a lot to be said for flies," agreed Dingo, rubbing his paws together. "Righto, in they go." So Lizard snapped 100 flies from the air with his long tongue and flipped them into the gooey, chewy stew. Ugh, flies. Do you like eating flies? Ugh, me neither. Yucky. Let's see what happens next. Around and around and around the bubbling billy, Dingo danced and sang, Wombat stew, crunchy munchy for my lunchy, wombat stew. Hold on a minute. I can't see the wombat in this picture, can you? I wonder what's going to happen. Up through the red dust popped. Oh, what kind of animal is this? That's right, it's an echidna. Up through the red dust popped Echidna. Wait a bit, not so fast, he bristled, shaking the red dust from his quills. Now I've been listening to all this advice, and take it from me, for a munchy stew you need slugs and bugs and creepy crawlies. Oh, creepy crawlies. Dingo wagged his tail. Why, I should have thought of that. Righto, in they go. So Echidna dug up, oh yuck, all sorts of creepy crawlies and dropped them into the gooey, crunchy stew. Oh. Would you like to have a bite of that stew? I wouldn't. The very clever Dingo stirred and stirred, all the while singing, Wombat stew, hot and spicy, oh so nicey, wombat stew. Oh, here comes the wombat. There he is. I thought he'd disappeared, but he's still there. What's he doing? He's covering his ears. I don't think he likes that song, do you? Mm-mm. Just then, oh, what animal is this? It's a koala. Just then, the sleepy-eyed koala climbed down the scribbly gum tree. Look here, he yawned. Any bush cook knows you can't make a spicy stew without gum nuts. Leave it to a koala to think of gum nuts. Dingo laughed and licked his whiskers. Righto, in they go. And into the gooey, crunchy munchy stew, koala shook lots and lots of gum nuts. Aha! Cried Dingo. Now my stew is missing only one thing. What's that? Asked the other animals. That fat wombat. Wait! Stop! Hang on, Dingo. You can't put that wombat into the stew yet. Oh, I wonder why. Let's find out. Why not? You haven't tasted it. Righto, I'll taste it. And that very clever Dingo bent over the billy and took a great big slurp of stew. Oh, I'm poisoned, he howled. You've all tricked me. And he dashed away deep into the bush, never again to sing, Wombat stew, gooey brewy, yummy chewy, wombat stew. How's that wombat looking now? He's looking very happy, isn't he? I hope you enjoyed that story. I'll see you next time.